Jim Sterling is a video game journalist whose opinion and content I highly respect. He's done wonders in the realm of consumer advocacy when it comes to microtransactions, loot boxes, and really just having an overarching eye on the industry as a whole. I really respect his opinion. As you can see from the thumbnail, he recently released this video, Walmart Feeds Anti-Video Game Propaganda, in which I feel that in many cases, in many arenas, I agree with him, but in others, the fact that he's not American, like this isn't his home country, and he just has a cursory view of the nation, being not a citizen, I feel that it's a bit short-sighted. And there's a lot to dissect and a lot to, counter here. So without further ado, let's get into Mr. Sterling's video.
Oh, this is just pathetic. Walmart, America's largest chain retail store, which, by the way, still sells guns, is reportedly removing any video game signage, demos, or displays containing violent or aggressive imagery.
Now, Walmart is looking out for those soccer moms. Okay, like right now in America, soccer moms are kind of like just running things. They're running Marvel into the ground. They're running DC into the ground. Like they're destroying all the cool things that there ever was. And in a move to, placate the soccer moms, Walmart is like, oh my goodness, we have to remove the violent video games. And it's not just soccer moms, and he's going to get to this in a second, but it's the politicians as well. It's Walmart basically doing CYA, covering their own ass. So
now, reports are saying Walmart's doing this in the wake of yet more mass shootings, specifically the shootings in El Paso, Texas and Dayton, Ohio. But to say that is inaccurate, because this isn't happening in the wake of those mass shootings. No, let's be accurate here. This is being done in the wake of Republican politicians trying to deflect us all away from discussing the causes of mass shootings by desperately trying to reignite the video game moral panic of the 90s.
And that I agree with. I couldn't agree any more with Mr. Sterling that the politician is, and here's where he irritates me the most, because he just keeps saying GOP, GOP, GOP. It's not freaking GOP. It's all of them. It's the establishment for the most part. And the establishment doesn't care about a political party. The establishment is those in power who want to maintain and keep their power. And so, yeah, they went to Walmart and said, hey, Walmart is preemptively getting in front of that. And so they can continue to sell their guns, because at the end of the day, it's about it's all corporate and profit driven. All right. Every single move that any of them make, including the GOP, the DNC, or any of these entities make right now, is all about corporate appeasement and appeasing the soccer mom sensibility and mentality that, oh my goodness, because the kid sees the video games, that must mean that they're bad. And honestly, like, those moms aren't even what makes up the majority of moms these days. But either way, so let's continue.
Walmart, which sells guns, is feeding into that pathetic moral panic attempt. Now, I'm not going to say that what Walmart's doing here is government propaganda, but at the very least, it's feeding government propaganda.
And that's the thing. It's not government propaganda. It's Walmart covering its own ass, so they can have some kind of decent publicity and keep that friendly place, despite the fact that we all know that Walmart is just it can just be awful. It's still a cover your ass more than feeding any government propaganda. And as we both know, the government is just finger pointing, because they want to make it seem as if they're being effective, when in all reality, they just want to keep the tire spinning, because while the tires spin, they get to remain in their positions of prominence. Let's go.
Now, to its Reddit, I guess. Walmart isn't just picking on video games here. According to a notice given to employees and shared on Twitter by reporter Kenneth Shepard, any movies that depict violence cannot be displayed in the electronics department either. Nor can, interestingly enough, any hunting season videos in the sporting goods department. But video games are certainly the prime target here. In the instructions given to employees, most of the attention is on burying those no-good games. According to the instructions, employees need to turn off or unplug any video game display consoles that show a demo of violent games, specifically PlayStation and Xbox units. They must cancel any events promoting combat-style or third-person shooter games that may be scheduled in electronics, and check all signing throughout the store and remove any referencing combat or third-person shooter video game.
And that's the thing. This is all a matter of show. Walmart's just covering their ass. That's it, so they can continue to sell the guns, which you keep pointing out, Mr. Sterling, in your video several times over again. Like, who sells guns, by the way? Yeah, we know. Like, we know, and Walmart want to keep selling guns. So in order to keep selling guns and not have themselves be further looked upon, take down, they're going to point that same finger too.
In a statement, Walmart has said, "We've taken this action out of respect for the incidents of the past week, and this action does not reflect a long-term change in our video game assortment," adding they will continue a thoughtful and thorough review of our policies. Now, on one hand, I could understand this move. The El Paso shooting took place in a Walmart, as did a shooting in South Haven, Mississippi in July. One could reasonably understand Walmart to make these moves as a sign of good taste, to not want to display violent images on its monitors following these shootings. But again, this move hasn't occurred in the wake of either of those shootings. No, this has come after politicians have gone on TV to spout drivel about how video games dehumanize people and how something needs to be done about them. This has come after Donald Trump blamed the media and blamed the glorification of violence and blamed video games in particular.
Which is something that was bound. The man's 75. Why does everyone keep forgetting this? These are old geriatrics looking at something that they do not comprehend, was nowhere near around their time of when the mind really starts to settle into things, and they've spent the past 20 years just in their own world, not particularly in depth or having great knowledge of which they speak. Of that we I think solidly agree.
For something that video games obviously had no real fucking hand in. Vice spoke to one Walmart employee who saw this move for what it is, a deflection, a corporation essentially aiding and abetting politicians in misblaming things. I went into work yesterday.
They're covering their ass.
And they handed me a copy of the instructions to remove the violent signage and gaming displays, they said. And I immediately threw it away because it's obviously a way to shift the blame from the real problem regarding the mass shootings. I didn't get to confirm this yesterday, but they aren't doing anything about the sales of guns and ammo in the store. Now,
because ultimately guns and ammo ain't the problem. Our terrible family courts are off the way we incentivize and have propped up this awful welfare state. Those are the problems. That's the thing. And you guys want to blame, he's so happy to blame, firearms and their availability. The right wants to blame, video games and all that nonsense, while everyone just ignores the destruction of our nuclear families here. And Mr. Sterling here, he's one of he isn't a Jason Statham Brit. He's a Elton John Brit. He's one of those dainty, super sensitive Brits that, hey, you can hear it in his voice. I mean, I don't feel as if this guy's packing all the testosterone in the world. So he's definitely on the blue team, on the liberal side, where, you got all the socialists and the communists and all that other fun stuff right now. So, I mean, everybody has their agenda. And in a way, Mr. Sterling, you're pressing your own, trying to go after the guns and ammo, which isn't the problem. The breakdown of our nuclear families and the fact that we've completely disincentivized having families in 2019 is exactly what's wrong. And like I was saying before, this gentleman is of the type that, all families are the same. All families are equal. No, they're not. Nuclear families matter for very specific reasons that let's not get into right now. And plus, you're using Vice as a source. Come on, man. Vice is terrible.
To any of you watching, you can have any stance on gun control you like, mate. My thoughts are obviously pretty clear by now. I think they're far too easy to get a hold of, as evidenced by the fact that a fascist with a desire to get famous seems to be able to get a hold of one.
So this is why your stuff is kind of coming in, because who's getting to define who's a fascist? You know, like who's getting to define which side fascism is on? Because y'all like to volley that. Like you're clearly on the left side, and you can see a lot of that authoritarianism and fascism taking place there as well as on the right. But you're volleying it back and forth right here. That's it. And like, so who gets to define who's the fascist here? And once again, I feel like he's looking at this from a distance, from a very far distance, and he's not an American citizen. As far as the ease in which to get your hands on firearms, it really does depend on your state because it's a state's issue. It's not honestly, I prefer the federal government stay completely out of it because it is a state's issue, and a lot of states, such as my very own Jersey, has in ridiculously crazy hard gun laws, but that don't stop me from having the ability to, within 2 or 3 phone calls, being able to get a completely off black market gun, right? So, bruh, like this isn't your lane.
But regardless of stance, let me ask you a question. Out of these 2 things, what do you believe is most likely to be at the site of a mass shooting? Television playing a scene from John Wick, or a gun, a copy of Call of Duty World War II, or a gun. Anyway.
So you see his propaganda, right? Like, it's so weird because he's propagandizing, but just on the other end. That's it. I mean, you're pushing out propaganda too, there, Mr. Sterling.
I'm just asking questions, mate, not trying to actually make a point or anything there, just asking questions. You know, I just feel if Walmart actually cared about looking tasteful, it might stop selling guns for a minute. Actually, let me revise.
Yeah, but they're a business, and that's a part of their business. So, I mean, that's one of the big hypocrisies of capitalism, but it's a reality of the situation that they make money selling guns, and they have no intentions on stopping, and nor should they. We cannot allow the actions of a few to dictate the direction of those who had absolutely nothing to do with it. And that's one of the things that you're advocating for here, sir. You're advocating for the same authoritarianism that you are proclaiming to be against.
That it's removing the violent imagery to look tasteful. If it wanted to actually be tasteful, it might stop selling guns for a minute. But just this week, Walmart has said there's been no change in its policy regarding the sale of guns. And again, you can have whatever style you like. I'm just saying if Walmart actually gave a shit, it might examine that policy instead of making...
But that's the difference, Britt, because I'm not looking to Walmart to be a moral leader. More Walmart, these companies, these businesses, they're companies and businesses. Profit is their motive. Profit is their thing. So don't sit here and morally, I do not like the fact that they're trying to morally chastise to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't like the fact that they're doing, that they're trying to oh my goodness, honestly, I'm just as offended as you are because guess what? Bruh, you here to make the money. Make that money. Be real about it. Stop pretending you're something you're not.
Down a cardboard sign, battlefield, whatever. But seriously, let's look at the availability of guns and the availability of extremist white supremacist rhetoric. As I said in a...
See? They always go back like the white supremacist rhetoric. Oh my goodness, that's the problem. The breakdown of our nuclear families is the problem. And it'll take a couple of generations to even fix it because we've already done so much damage. But broken people break people. And that's the one line, that's the one connecting tissue that I have from Charleston to El Paso to Dayton. Broken people break people.
Previous video, this is all a despicable, disgusting, cowardly distraction on behalf of politicians. The GOP doesn't want us looking into gun control, or the fact that a lot of their prominent members are funded by the National Rifle Association. The GOP doesn't want us looking into radicalizing racist rhetoric, or the fact that many of their party members are radicalized rhetoric
You hear this? You hear this? Bruh, how do you know? You ain't over here, fam. Like, look, man, I'm going to always stand tall for my fellow countrymen because my fellow countrymen has been good to me. White, black, green, blue, purple. And for you to sit here and say because someone is a Republican, someone's with the GOP or anything else like that, oh, well, they spew. It's a fact. He literally said it's a fact that they spew racist. Man, miss me, Jim. Like, you out of line, family. You really are. And you're just doing the same propagandizing, but for the left side. That's disgusting. This is really why I wanted to make this video. That line right there. Well, the GOP, they are funded by the NRA. You know what? Like, honestly, the NRA ain't pull no damn trigger, so I ain't worrying about the NRA. I ain't worrying about the GOP. I'm worrying about the individual human beings that took it upon themselves to take other lives. And hey, how could we have stopped that individual from doing that? And guess what? Without infringing on the rights of others. And the only answer is that they came up they came up malnourished. And unfortunately, we got way too many people quite just like them running around here. What a dick.
Racists. As I've said in previous videos, I'm not playing the game anymore. I'm not taking the bait anymore. I'm not going to waste I'm defending video games from this disingenuous bullshit. I will, however, do what I have been doing, and that's calling it out as a blatant distraction. What Walmart has done here...
Well, with another blatant distraction, congratulations.
...is indicative of what these politicians have been trying to do. It's a lip service, it's performative, it's a charade. Removing demos and displays doesn't actually stop the video games being sold. It's not going to stop the video game industry raking in billions of dollars, and it's not designed to. It's a toothless move perpetrated merely for appearance. And while it gets us all arguing about violent video games, it distracts us from focusing on things like, a recent report about White House officials pushing back against the Department of Homeland Security for over a year when it tried to prioritize domestic terrorism as a threat. Oh yeah, for well over a year, a literal epidemic of gun violence just wasn't all that important to the...
So I think, because I do, like I said, once again, I wanted to land this at a place where, we agree, but then he brought that, he brought up the title. Yeah, I was just saying, it is a big cover your ass situation. And as far as domestic terrorism, how do I put it? Gun violence is gun violence. People get gunned down in this country every day. All right. I mean, we're trying to make it seem as if this epidemic is actually larger than it is, because I don't even want to call it an epidemic. It's a reality. It's reality that those in urban life literally deal with all the time. Chicago, New York, Detroit, Baltimore, and yet there was no love for these areas and these communities. I mean, hell, they leave a lot of aggregates. They leave the numbers from urban communities off of their, off their statistics when it comes to mass shootings, because, it wasn't just people it wasn't just regular civilians out there in the streets, but regular civilians are not. If they all citizens, or, even if they're not citizens, it's a human life. Does that not make sense? So thusly, I don't care what side of the aisle that human life falls on, where they happen to be standing. If they get gunned down and are taken off this earth and taken away from their family before their time, or untimely, I think that's a better way to put it, then it's all wrong, and it all needs to be looked at and looked into. I think that's where I'm going to end up in this video, because this is aggravating as hell that he's going to say here, a Brit. Ain't y'all knifing people? Don't y'all got knife problems? Which really proves the point that violence is going to happen. No matter what, how about we focus on the circumstances and the situations and the environments that foster and cultivate the violence, as opposed to, oh my goodness, the violence, man. But nah, there's no interest in that, man. But you got your Brits to worry about, man. You got your own, you got London to worry about, and Paris and all those other places, even though I'm pretty sure I'm just melding all these foreign countries together. But what I'm saying is that, bro, over here, Let us figure that out. Over there, you do you, man. You take care of you and your folk, all right? I mean, golly, why we got all these Brits up in American situations and issues? It's not just Brits; it's the South Africans too. You think I won't see Trevor Noah? I see all these people with weird ass accents coming through talking about America and Americans and all these things that we need to be doing. Like, bruh, go home, take care of that. Jesus. So, that being said, we're going to bring this one to an end. All the internet stuff. If you liked it, toss it a like. Dislike, go ahead, do that too. I ain't scared of you. Sub. If you enjoy my fantastic voice and you want to get videos like this every single day, share, because sharing is caring. And speak. Let me know, what do you think in the comments? Isn't this just the same propaganda that he's saying here, putting out the exact same propaganda that he wants that he's condemning? That's hypocrisy 101. But if you feel different, I'd love to hear what you got to say in the comments. And until the next one.